Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. With your 2026 WWE Elimination Chamber Ultimate Preview. That's right, Getting Over is back once again, and we are here to break down every bit of the WWE Elimination Chamber card while discussing an early preview to WWE WrestleMania 42 and everything that we expect to happen in between. Vintage Chris Vanini, our co-host here at Getting Over, will be along for the ride momentarily, but before we bring him into the fold, allow the Silver King to remind you that here at the Getting Over Wrestling Podcast,
it's all about the five.
So please, folks,
stop being marks for yourselves and go back to being a mark for me.
Go back to being marks for the Silver King Adam Silverstein, Vintage Chris Vanini, and the Getting Over Wrestling Podcast in its entirety. Head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Also, do not forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast. On Twitter and Blue Sky, you get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show, and you can vote in pre- and post-show polls surrounding premium live events. We will have 2 of them this Saturday, before and after WWE Elimination Chamber. When you subscribe to us on YouTube, you can obviously listen to the show. You can also watch full-length video interviews the Silver King conducts with some of the top wrestlers in the world. Across the board, follow us on social media at Getting Overcast. Now, we had an absolutely loaded WWE edition of the podcast for you on Tuesday. Knowing that show was going to go long, Silver King and Vintage, we decided to break off this WWE Elimination Chamber Ultimate Preview. That way we could not only give the show the time it deserves, but we could also spend some time on the back end discussing our projected WrestleMania 42 cards, both in terms of what's going to happen at Chamber that we believe will, lead into those matches, and also what is happening across SmackDown and Raw that we believe will matriculate itself into being feuds contested, let's say, at WrestleMania. So we're going to get to all of that momentarily. Vintage Chris Vanini will be joining the show soon.
But I'm afraid I've got some news.
Just a couple additional items that didn't necessarily fit our first WWE show from the week that, of course, I wanted to ensure that we discussed before we get into the depths of Elimination Chamber. The first item comes from an alternate angle fan video posted from the Royal Rumble. One of our huge criticisms about the men's match on that show was how Brock Lesnar's elimination appeared to be booked for a moment where Jey Uso entered and the fans were distracted by him eating and his song. Well, this video shows that Lesnar went out of his way to find Cody Rhodes and tell him to eliminate him during that moment. It looked like he might have been lumbering around a little bit, so maybe he was gassed or slightly hurt, but the video clearly shows that his elimination by Cody and LA Knight was not planned to be under the shroud of Jay's entrance, which is obviously interesting in retrospect. There has been a ton of discourse around WWE ticket sales of late, and we've covered that extensively as it pertains to WrestleMania, especially on buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. So I might as well use this as the opportunity to mention,
I happen to love the number 5.
and I hope you do as well. For $5 a month, $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. Go to that site, buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to major shows. You'll also get exclusive news analysis posts every week, like the one I'm referring to here, where we talked about WrestleMania Creative and WrestleMania ticket sales. I'll just say one more time, buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. But I wanted today to talk about Elimination Chamber specifically, because there's been reporting that TKO and WWE are blacking out local Chicago venues from airing the show, specifically because ticket sales are struggling. So I wanted to dig into that concept with, actual research and reporting. So as we tape this show, there are 15,500 tickets out for Chamber from a setup of just over 17,000. The last wrestling show that claimed to have sold out the United Center was AEW twice. For Forbidden Door in 2022, that did around 16,000. That's what they claimed. And then CM Punk's The First Dance, which was 13,000 sold out, but somehow became 15,000 at the time the show started. The point being, WWE is 500 away from the Forbidden Door number, 1,500 away from what they would consider a sellout because they're set up for just over 17,000. There's 4 days left. WWE looks like it's going to exceed those numbers despite the insane price of tickets, which everyone, of course, is complaining about. They also, by the way, this year, don't have John Cena, AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, or Braun Breaker, among others. So what the hell are we talking about here? The local blackout that TKO is instituting is absolutely being done to encourage ticket sales. And it absolutely sucks for fans in major cities who want to go and watch events like that in groups. But TKO, then Endeavor, they did the same thing with UFC back in the day. And this is not about concerns over ticket sales being low. That's the insinuation when someone reports that. It's rather about them trying to generate as many ticket sales and as much money as possible. So if you want to call TKO greedy, go ahead and do it. They are greedy as hell. But let's not misrepresent reality. They're not doing these blackouts because ticket sales are struggling. They're doing the blackouts because they want to make as much money from you as possible, and they don't want restaurants and bars and shit in the area to make the money instead. And as far as WrestleMania goes, attendance is going to be way down. That was easy to anticipate, just considering the economy. WWE going back to the exact same venue 12 months later. What's happening in Las Vegas locally with tourism. What's happening nationwide politically, and international travel being down massively in the United States, particularly from Mexico and Canada. That's not even mentioning the insane ticket prices. The truth is, Mania is going to be one of the most profitable WWE events of all time, even if ticket sales were down 30%. They'll likely wind up down 15 to 20% at the end of the day. And look, while creative has not been as strong this year, that's not the reason for the declined attendance. It's entirely all the other reasons I mentioned. If you went to WrestleMania last year and you're not local to Las Vegas, why are you going back? If you are local to Las Vegas and you already experienced it, why are you going to spend that kind of money to go back to the exact same event in the exact same venue? If you live in Mexico, Canada, Europe, are you really traveling into the United States right now? And that's again, not even talking about just the general economy and all the other things that circle around this event. So there's this doom and gloom aspect when it comes to WWE. I just attended a SmackDown in Sunrise, Florida on Friday. That last time I was there for Raw 18 months ago when WWE was hotter than it is now. I can't tell you the exact number of fans that were there. It's probably 7,500, 8,000, something like that. There were more than 11,000 people there, and the setup was for about 12,000. The show was packed. People were going crazy. WWE is regularly either selling out or coming close to selling out major venues across the country, despite their tickets being ridiculously expensive. So, do I believe that WWE is struggling to sell tickets? I think any struggles they have are of their own doing and circumstantial based on what's happening in the economy and across the country. But do I think like the creative is so poor that people are leaving the company in droves and no one's watching anymore? No. And if you're taking all of your statistical WWE ratings and ticket sales information from one or two sources, one of whom, let's just say, still doesn't understand the difference between Netflix views and Nielsen viewers, which are completely different statistics, then you're working yourself up into a tizzy for no reason whatsoever. Enjoy the product on screen. Let TKO and WWE worry about the business side of it. What you should care about is whether you're enjoying what you're watching and discussing with friends and us, listening to our show and trying to go over what the hell is going to happen at WrestleMania, because that's the road that everyone is on right now. With that said, it is time to welcome in vintage Chris Vanini. But before I get to him, I do need to remind you that whether it's Raw, SmackDown, NXT, or premium live events on Netflix, I am all in with NordVPN, and so is Chris. It's easy to set up a drastically better viewing experience each night. You get the same high quality streams, except they become commercial-free shows. All you have to do is sign up at nordvpn.com/gettingover, open the app, quick connect to another country like the United Kingdom, open Netflix, and watch the program. That is going to be crucial for Elimination Chamber on Saturday, especially for those of you still with Comcast or YouTube TV and you don't have that ESPN Unlimited subscription. NordVPN, it also allows you to get around online censorship or surveillance, protect your private data when web browsing, and one account can be used on 10 different devices. To get the best discount, go to nordvpn.com/gettingover. Our link will give you 4 extra free months off the 2-year plan. And there's no risk because Nord has a 30-day money-back guarantee. So improve your WWE viewing, save some money, browse safer online, and get the best discount for the best VPN at nordvpn.com/gettingover. It is great having NordVPN as the official singular sponsor of your boys right here at the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. Let's get to the 2026 WWE Elimination Chamber Ultimate Preview, delayed from our normal Tuesday show. We wanted to ensure we had as much time as we possibly could to discuss it. It is only a 4-match card. Vintage, I would say all 4 matches are relatively interesting, more so than I would have expected even a few weeks ago. Coming into the show, there's some people contending for both chamber matches that are surprises. Finn Balor as a World Heavyweight Championship contender. You could not have predicted that a couple months ago. And then Becky Lynch and AJ Lee, we all thought that match was going to happen at WrestleMania, yet here it is at the United Center in Chicago. So overall, what are your thoughts about this Elimination Chamber card?
Looks like a good card, a show that, again, I will be using NordVPN to watch. That's not part of the sponsorship. No. I legitimately am using this because I don't want to deal with the ESPN Unlimited stuff. I've got YouTube TV. So legit, it's good. I always wish these were 5-match cards instead of 4. Yeah. 4 always just feels a little bit short. But look, 2 number 1 contender WrestleMania elimination matches and 2 singles championship matches. If you're going to do a 4-match card, that's the way you make it feel like a big deal. And it does feel like a big deal.
Yeah, I understand the 4-match cards when it's the Royal Rumble because those bouts can be an hour long each, and sometimes they go even longer than that. I forget about the length of chambers, and I'm trying to Google it while we're talking, and I don't actually.
I'll look up last year's line.
Yeah, you go look up last year. I'll maybe look up 2024 while we're doing this. But the matches, I believe, are like in the 38 to 45 minute range here in 2024.
Not even that long.
Yeah, in 2024, it was 32 and 37. What was last year?
It was 32 minutes for the men, 29 minutes for the women.
Yeah, so you're looking at an hour plus obviously all the entrances, a little pop and circumstance as well. So you're looking at most, you want to call those 90 minutes of show. That to me says there should be 3 more matches on the card. And Elimination Chamber 2024, now that was a stadium show in Perth, but it did have 5 matches. Last year, I want to say, Chris, because you just looked at the card, it was 4, right?
Last year was 4, also in a stadium in Toronto.
Right. But they had that big moment, which was considered a segment on its own, with The Rock, John Cena, Cody Rhodes after the men's chamber match. So yes. 5 segments, 4 matches, 5 segments in 2024. Here, well, you know what? I'm realizing there is a 5th segment. I didn't plan this. I just completely forgot. So there's the 4, planned matches that we discussed. I guess the 5th segment is going to be the box.
Oh, the box. We didn't talk much about the box on the Raw SmackDown show, but
we didn't.
That is another thing.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about that now, or do we save that for later?
No, we can talk about it now because I have no idea what it's going to be. And in many ways, that's great, right? Because, when it's something silly or stupid, whichever adjective you want to use to describe this, it can raise your expectations to a significant degree where whatever gets revealed ends up really disappointing you. I have no expectations for this. So as long as it's not like the gobbledygooker, I'm probably going to be okay with it, right? It could be a returning or debuting superstar. There's been talk about Chris Jericho coming back to WWE.
That's the big thought.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like he's out of his AEW contract yet, and he's still listed on their roster page. Danhausen has been talked about a lot, someone from AEW. He's a character in the purest sense of the term. I don't think you make a huge deal about him debuting, though him coming out of a box or crate is fitting with what he does, but I just don't see that guy being like the biggest deal to put on your second premium live event of the year and your final one before WrestleMania. So many other ways to debut him, Royal Rumble or on a Raw after WrestleMania, whatever. So those are like the leading options in the clubhouse. I don't know that either of those guys is going to be signed by the time this show happens. And even if they are, it just seems weird to do that. Now, the security guards or assistants, whoever they are, holding that clipboard, which would normally be just like a equivalent of a shipping manifest, right? Like when something gets delivered, you have to sign for it, so on. That kind of is what had me going Jericho, because you'd think about the list and the clipboard, and maybe that's a little bit of a tease. But
and by the way, Jericho made his WWE debut in this very arena.
Did he? On Raw when he confronted The Rock?
Yeah, that was Chicago.
Interesting. So, it's plausible, right? But again, he's on the AEW roster page. As far as people are saying he's under contract, I saw a report that his contract was frozen and they're not letting him leave, which obviously would put a huge wrench in that projection here. So outside of those two names, I got nothing. There's nothing on the box, the printed verbiage that seems to lend any hints. It's been going back and forth between shows. It hasn't creaked or rolled over, or no one's, looked inside and been shocked or anything like. So I just don't know what it is. I also don't know, is the box going to wind up in the ring? Is it going to be something on the stage? Is it going to be backstage? Generally, though, when you have a box that size, it's usually a human being. So that's the only prediction I have, that someone or something is going to walk out of that. But other than that, I have no idea what it's going to be.
Brief correction. Jericho did debut in Chicago. This show, Elimination Chamber, is not at the Rosemont Horizon, actually. It's at United
This is United Center. That's what I said, yeah.
Which I didn't realize. WWE does not run United Center often.
No.
If at all. They usually go out there to Rosemont. So I guess different arena, but same city. It does look like it would fit a person. Now, in kayfabe, how are they surviving? Mm-hmm. Are they eating, going to the bathroom? How is that working? I don't know. I also don't quite understand how you can tell the shipping company to just send it to other shows back and forth. I feel like it was a waste. Whoever thought send it to Raw and SmackDown and back, like Triple H got to be upset about those shipping costs. You got to save some money.
Okay, so it's funny you said that, okay? Because I had a note to say that exact same thing 2 weeks ago, okay? But here's what I realized and why I didn't say it. They're putting it on their production truck, so it's no cost.
That's true.
It's not like DHL is sending it back and forth. You know what I mean?
That's good logistics right there. So I feel like it has to be a person. It wouldn't be like some trophy that they're going to give out. It's WrestleMania Saudi Arabia next year or something like that. Oh, right? I can't imagine.
God, could you imagine?
But it'd be weird to do it before this WrestleMania. You would normally want to do it after WrestleMania going into. But I don't know. I'm going to think it's Jericho until I see something else. And I think most people are going to feel that way. And so if it's not Jericho, we're going to feel let down.
I'm not sure I entirely agree with that, because I don't think the majority of the audience is leaning in that direction. Like there haven't been teases to that end. There hasn't been anything to make people believe that. It's a
Chicago crowd, though. They're gonna chant Y2J. At some
Maybe. It's certainly possible. By the way, you mentioned earlier that this is not a venue WWE runs much. It's true. They generally do the Allstate Arena, the old Rosemont Horizon. WWE has not run the United Center for a televised event of any kind since SummerSlam 1994. They've done a couple house shows, a couple random NXT shows there. WCW, this is the crazy thing. WCW has run more television and pay-per-views at the United Center since 1994 than WWE. And WCW has been defunct for the vast majority of that time. So
for 25 years.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. So that's what's happening here. It is a awesome venue for professional wrestling, as we have seen with AEW, and TNA actually ran it a couple times as well. TNA has run the United Center more times since 2000 than WWE, which is just absolutely insane. But they had a deal, of course, with the Allstate Arena. Anyway, so the box is kind of the extra segment. We don't know what's going to happen there. Chris, let's get into the 4 actual matches on the card, the build that we got, any go-home stuff from Raw and SmackDown. We'll make our predictions and picks, our projections for what we expect to happen moving forward. We'll wrap up the show with our pre-show grades for WWE Elimination Chamber, and we'll quickly go over a projected WrestleMania 42 card based on what we expect is going to happen this Saturday. So, starting with the lowest match on the card, I suppose. The Intercontinental Championship is on the line. Becky Lynch defending against AJ Lee. Lynch cut a tape promo saying Lee has done nothing in this industry compared to her, including taking the entire women's division and wrestling business to another level during her run on top. Becky said AJ doesn't deserve to hold a title that she's built into being prestigious, but she does deserve to get put down in front of her friends and family as the least talented AJ to retire this year. As much as I love the parody character that Becky has been portraying, and I've been putting it over here for months, getting a classic energized heel promo from Lynch was pretty damn refreshing on Monday night. Greatest women's talker of all time, and it's not just getting over saying that. I've been saying it for years. Not much of a go home because AJ wasn't even there, but it was better compared to what we got from them last week.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really comparable, two different things, but it was good to kind of get back on track, focused, make it serious again, and just move forward. So it was fine.
What is your prediction for this match? Do you think Becky retains and they rematch at WrestleMania? Do you think AJ wins and then they run it back on that show? Where's this going to go?
I think AJ wins. And I think potentially you run it back at Mania, but maybe you have Becky do something bigger, go back for a world title or something like that. But I'm saying AJ wins this in Chicago.
You know, I got to agree with you, and it really bothers me that is our mutual prediction, because Becky just won the title back after losing it to Maxine, who never should have been champion. So they took it off of her, put it back on her, and then maybe she's going to lose it again and possibly win it back in 6-7 weeks at WrestleMania. It's odd the way that this has been put together. And I firmly believe, I've said this before, that Lynch was going to go away for the holidays for X number of weeks. And she said, hey, Paul Levesque, rather than the title not be on TV this entire time, why don't we run this program with Maxine Dupree, who she likes personally? Let's give her a shot, see if she can do anything with this. And then when I come back, I'll win the title. And he said, okay, and placated that. And it was the wrong decision. If she was going to drop the title, it should have been to someone who could have actually done something with it. Instead, they ran that feud where Becky lost every single match, pretty much, unless she cheated. Maxine was elevated briefly from it when she won it that one night and maybe the next week. And now she's dead as a doornail.
You got to get past that. We're past Maxine Intercontinental Championship. I know it really upsets you in that run we went on, but we got to remember, this is just the Intercontinental Championship, and it's a credit to Becky Lynch that we treat it as seriously as we do because of what she did with it and what Lyra did.
But that's the level of work they did, though.
It is.
They built it briefly into the most important women's title in the entire company.
Correct. They did. But my issues with women's singles division right now are far more on the individual world championships and elevating those. And Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vicker are getting back on the right track. And I just realized Becky's on Raw, so she's not going to go after Liv and Stephanie Vicker at WrestleMania. So maybe we do run this back again at Mania, or maybe we don't. I don't know. We don't know what AJ's kind of schedule is. This is our first singles match in a decade. Maybe they got to see how it goes first. Can AJ do a full-on good singles match with Becky? And if they can, then maybe they run it back or something. But I'm going AJ winning here, partly because of what we'll talk about in the men's match as well.
Yeah, I mean, they could possibly do something with, I know this is going to, people are going to hear this and be like, Silver King, what are you doing? What are you talking about? They could do something because Maxine Dupree is no longer there, you would expect, after the way she got knocked out cold Monday night on Raw. They could do something where, Natty interferes, because she has been on and off feuding with Becky since the Royal Rumble, cost Becky the title, and then they run a triple threat legend match for the IC title at WrestleMania. So it's Becky, AJ, and Natty. And then Becky's able to pin Natty and take it back without having to pin AJ. There's a lot of different ways that this can go. But I understand why you kind of were halting me about talking about the Maxine of it all. But that is important when we're talking about contextually the title possibly flipping 2 more times already. That would be 4 times since December, which is a lot for any title, even a somewhat new Women's Intercontinental Championship. So that was the context in which it was important to say as much. But to your point, they're in Chicago. I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but the potential visual of AJ winning and then CM Punk retaining, and both of them in the ring together holding their titles and Chicago serenading them, that may be too much for WWE to pass up.
That feels like what the show is about. It's about getting and creating that moment. And maybe they swerve us and no, maybe we all think it's going to happen and they don't. And that's wrestling sometimes. But I think this is all about having CM Punk and AJ Lee for everything they went through, all the drama.
Yeah.
I keep getting fed TikToks on my algorithm of Punk clips from the Colt Cabana interview way back in the day. To think back to that moment and then, CM Punk getting fired on his wedding day, coming all the way around to CM Punk and AJ holding championships in Chicago is just an incredible come around story that maybe it's too good to be true and they don't do it, but that's what I think's happening.
No, I'm with you on that. So let's go ahead and move to the World Heavyweight Championship. CM Punk defending against Finn Balor. Punk arrived at Raw in the NASCAR of Daytona 500 winner Tyler Reddick, who drives for Michael Jordan. Chicago connection there, I suppose. JD McDonough backstage apologized to Balor for arguing with him last week, but Balor called them brothers who fight and make up. After McDonough supported him, Dominic Mysterio confronted and said he felt pushed aside and left hanging last week, with their lack of help being the reason he lost. McDonough promised to get his back next week against Penta. The Intercontinental Championship is going to be on the line, but Balor sarcastically apologized for focusing on the biggest match of his career. He reminded that he had no one watching his back when both of them were hurt. He didn't blame them. He held his own, and that's what Dom should do. Take some responsibility and grow the hell up. Balor then later got a promo package saying he needed to prove the doubters, critics, and even his family wrong. He has to show that he can be champion after 10 years of what-ifs. He said he learned a lot from being beaten by Punk. He no longer will ask what if, but rather what happens when. What happens when you beat CM Punk, become World Heavyweight Champion, and main event WrestleMania. Hell yeah, Finn. Like, the most serious and locked in Balor has been presented in years. No lies detected in the first segment. Balor and McDonough making up because they go back years made ton of sense, as did Balor not giving Mysterio any air for his complaints for all the reasons mentioned. We have talked about the possibility of them fighting for the IC title at WrestleMania. It does finally feel like Judgment Day is going to split sooner than later. After the back and forth about Balor potentially being on the face side of the split, this seemed to put him back in that camp. Just a super successful couple segments from my vantage point, especially as a Balor fan. The promo package on the back end was even better than the backstage segment. This is the most legitimate Balor has come across in a long time. WWE deserves some credit for that. Of course, they deserve plenty of criticism for the way they booked him all those years prior.
Yeah, they've done the best they can to give Finn attention and praise, and including Finn going on Cody's podcast. Like, they put the work in to build this back up. But there is 0% chance Finn Balor is winning this match. So what are the possible ways that he could? Like, if it was to happen for some reason, how would it happen?
Punk gets injured in the middle of the match. In a serious manner.
Yeah. Has happened before.
Yeah.
To both these guys.
You know what? There's facts. Major facts right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. Now, the pick is Punk, but I'm also going to pick that we get a Judgment Day breakup here. I think he loses. I think this is not the main event. I think he loses. I think Dom comes out, JD comes out, and Finn attacks them. And it's not just like shoving, like they're actually fighting, and it's the full-on men's breakup. And that becomes, we know Finn's not going to win, but it does feel like he advanced forward in something. And that could be toward an eventual Intercontinental something with Dominic as well. So I think Finn loses, but I don't think it's simply Finn loses and he's sad and that's it.
I agree with that part. I disagree with what you said before. To me, Balor gets an excused loss here. And it's probably on the back end of this segment with him saying to McDonough and Mysterio on Monday night, neither of you have had my back for weeks. I've had to do this all my own. JD, you just got back. Dom, you're complaining that we don't have your back. Where have you been for me? So on and so forth. Because what that then could potentially lead to is McDonough and Mysterio running out during this match, trying to help Balor, accidentally costing him in the end. Maybe Dominic doing it on purpose, but it's veiled to look like it's an accident. Similar to what happened when he was between Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan with the steel chair, that whole fiasco. You could run something like that. Balor loses the match, but not of his own devices, not squeaky clean. So he has a reason to be angry at them. Punk maybe puts him over a little bit, like, hey, it wasn't your fault, whatever type of situation. I don't believe a split is going to happen at Chamber in Chicago. The earliest for me that would happen would be Monday Night on Raw. But because there's such a long run between now and WrestleMania, 6-7 episodes of Raw, I believe, it could potentially happen even 2 or 3 weeks down the line. They don't need to, for an Intercontinental title feud, because don't forget, this coming Monday on Raw is Dominic Mysterio against Penta for the title. So that match needs to happen. You could have Balor cost Mysterio there. You could have Balor help Mysterio there and then turn on him after the fact because he wants to fight him for the title. So there's a lot of different ways that can go. I don't see the split happening in Chicago, but I do believe Judgment Day plays a role in Balor losing, and that kind of matriculates forward.
Yeah, yours is more likely. I just think it'd be very, by the numbers. But
yeah.
We'll see.
I forgot to cover what Punk did on Raw. It was really nothing, so I'll just get it together quick here. He basically opened Hour 3 reiterating that he's doing the best he can by being a fighting champion, and he also doesn't like dealing in what-ifs, similar to Balor. He got Roman Reigns booed for not showing up every night like him, before proclaiming that he's the champion, the best in the world, and the main event of WrestleMania. It was a go-nowhere promo. The what-if portion was supposed to relate to what Balor said previously, but he never really got into talking about Balor as a challenger. I was hoping for an attack on the back end of this from Finn to put this all together, but that never happened. And on Tuesday's show, we mentioned how I think there were 3 or 4 segments we said that were in-ring promos that did absolutely nothing. It was Cody Rhodes at the start of the show. It was Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. And it was CM Punk here coming out saying I thought he said he was going to introduce AJ Styles for his retirement. Never even did that. Just said everything I just told you, then left the ring. I found that to be odd. And I almost wished that Punk had just done a similar type of promo package like Finn did. And you saw, parallel versions from each of them rather than him go out there in front of a live crowd and say absolutely nothing.
Yep, I would agree. In fact, it was more about Roman, the stuff he said about Roman not showing up. I don't know if he'll do that every week or we'll get into it, but that's the classic, again, those CM Punk TikTok clips popping up in my feed. Mm-hmm. He's talking about back in 2012, 2013, he's got to lose to Brock and Brock goes away. He's got to lose to Undertaker and Undertaker goes away while he's still there every day. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what this promo was, and something he could hit on if he wants to make Roman feel like the heel, which is, you're not here every day and I am, and I'm the champion. It's a classic wrestling thing when you fight a part-timer.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see if Reigns is a heel, a tweener, how this feud develops, but Roman will be back on Raw this Monday, so it's going to start immediately there. And I think I think it is 7 weeks, because I think we said he's going to be on 5 of the final 7 Raws into WrestleMania. So like I said, that starts Monday night. Let's move to the 2 Elimination Chamber matches. We'll start with the women. Tiffany Stratton, Rhea Ripley, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Kiana James, and Raquel Rodriguez for the WWE Championship #1 contendership. What's interesting about the setup for this chamber is that 5 different tag teams are represented with only 1 member each in the match. That is precisely what I have been talking about WWE doing for years with the women's division. To that end, it's kind of crazy that Io Sky, who has been the star of War Games and a breakout performer the last 2 years, has never participated in a chamber match. It seems like it's made for her. The crazy stuff she could do off the top of the individual cells. Remember the Montez Ford spot where he was hanging from the top and flew down? That's Io to me. Like, it seems like she should be in this match. So that's frustrating, but hopefully she's in it next year. WWE has made clear that the winner of this match will now challenge Jade Cargill for that WWE Championship. But I do wonder whether that's actually set in stone, because there is a creative option that's possible based on who winds up winning. To that end, as I always say when it comes to Money in the Bank, the best way to predict a winner for the Elimination Chamber is process of elimination. And that's exactly what the Silver King is going to do. Kiana is a neophyte, and Asuka is a heel on the opposite brand. Pretty easy to cross both of them out. Bliss, despite being over and serving as a drastic visual contrast to Jade, does not make much sense, just considering how she's been booked of late. I've also assumed that Charlexa will be in the tag team storyline, whatever that winds up being for WrestleMania. Rhea is a current champion with Io, and while I could totally see her playing double duty, she could not lose to Cargill, and I don't see Ripley winning that title and then switching brands. So that leaves Stratton and Rodriguez, neither of them the greatest options. For Tiffy, it would be running back the feud that was already overdone for a large part of 2025. But she's a legitimate babyface and the bigger star. Raquel is a heel, nowhere near as popular, but she's been built real well of late. She's beatable, and there is also the potential for
Big meaty man slapping meat. That's what I want.
and that is an attractive proposition. Tiffy should be the favorite going in. For some reason, I just have an odd feeling that Rodriguez is going to win this match. So Raquel is my prediction.
Speaking of meaty, by the way, this is a big meaty match for 4 of the 5 of them, I would say, guaranteed 3. So let's not forget about the bread and water.
No bread, no water, just me.
Alexa Bliss is going to look like a baby in this match.
She really is.
Between Tiffany Stratton, who's tall, Rhea Ripley's tall, Kiana James is relatively tall but also big.
She's built.
And Raquel Rodriguez is tall. Asuka's probably the one closest to her, but Asuka's, a tough maniac. So I agree on no chance for Bliss or Asuka or Kiana. I do agree on Tiffany and Raquel having chances. I think there's a chance for Rhea more than I would have thought before, because they did have Rhea and Jade backstage kind of look up each other real quick a couple weeks ago, perhaps setting that. We just got the news within the last week of Bianca Belair's surgery. So maybe now that they know that Bianca may be out, we've thought for a while, Rhea and Io, the tag team stuff, the women's tag team division is going crazy. They couldn't do Rhea versus Bianca, so they're going to do tag team stuff. But maybe they see Rhea Jade as a big, big thing, and you don't want to potentially miss the opportunity to do it. And you decide to go with that and pivot Rhea out of the tag team thing a little bit. Now, what do you do with Io at that point? I don't know. But I'm not ruling out Rhea. I think she and Raquel and Tiffany are the most likely. You make a really good case for Raquel. It would make sense. It would be. You can also have her lose. You can have her fight Jade and lose. The people who win this don't need to win the championship.
Right. And let me interrupt you briefly. The goal has to be Jade and Bianca Belair. It's what they thought they were going to get at SummerSlam. Then they figured because Bianca didn't heal, they were going to push it off to WrestleMania. She's still not healed. She just had her 3rd, I believe, surgery. The expectation is this one is going to work and she'll be okay in a couple of months and ready to go. So you can now build that match potentially for SummerSlam. So you're not looking to what you just said for who's going to win Chamber then beat Jade Cargill. You're looking for who's going to win Chamber and put on an interesting match with her at WrestleMania.
And as I think more about it, I'm actually going to pick Rhea. And I think Rhea is going to lose to Jade and will have the excuse of losing to Jade because she will have 2 matches at WrestleMania, much like Seth Rollins did at WrestleMania 40, when he was in the tag team match on night 1 and then immediately had the World Heavyweight Championship match against Drew. I believe that started off night 2.
It did.
And he lost and got cashed in on. And then
Drew
he showed up again, and he showed up again in the main event. Right. So I think we have Rhea do a tag team thing on night 1. Win, lose, I don't know. And then she loses on night 2 with the excuse that she wrestled the night before. And it's Jade. You're probably not going to go long in that type of match either. So I'm going to pick Rhea to win this, actually.
Yeah, she can get injured in that first match, sell something, and Jade takes advantage of it. It's a 9-minute match, and people will be pissed, and they'll cry and so on and so forth. But it would make sense, and Ripley would be the fill-in for Belair, someone that can give Cargill a real quality match for as long as they're in the ring with her. If it was Bianca, she probably would have won the title off of Jade. Ripley, in this case, would be the fill-in, And you could still run back Bianca winning the title at SummerSlam potentially. And, I hate to say it because we both believe that the match should be on a, not a bigger stage, but a domestic stage is probably the best way to put it. If Bianca does win the title at SummerSlam from Jade, then you can carry that out to Belair against Ripley at WrestleMania 43. It's very possible to do something like that. Now, if Rodriguez wins, because I mentioned something earlier about Cargill being the de facto person that needs to get challenged for this future number one contender. But if Raquel wins, I wonder if they open the door for her being able to challenge Stephanie Vaquera as well, creating a triple threat, angering Liv Morgan, and then leading to the Judgment Day split. That would then open the door for WWE to get creative and figure out something for Jade. I don't believe they're going to go in that direction. Rodriguez can easily feud with Morgan coming out of WrestleMania if she doesn't get her own opportunity. But that is a unique way they could go about it, considering how time and again Raquel keeps getting screwed trying to challenge Stephanie. And I don't believe Vaquera has ever beaten her clean, to at least the best of my memory.
Well, right. Well, I mean, that's what we thought potentially going in. We thought Raquel could win the title off of Vaquera. Liv wins the Rumble. You think she's going to pick Jade, and she surprises and picks Raquel. Liv turns face. And like, that was my prediction kind of leading into the Rumble. It didn't happen. It seems pretty clear they're moving forward with Liv Vaquera now, and they've put the work in to do that. I just think if you had Raquel win and not face Jade, it would really make Jade in that title look worse, look not as good. If you have two people and neither of them are bothering with her. Yeah, you could say, hey, they're both scared of Jade or something.
That's what she could claim.
Yeah, but I think Raquel Liv, when you do it, is going to be like a big thing, and that's not like a come out of WrestleMania thing. That's like a SummerSlam type of thing. I think. You do, Diesel, Shawn Michaels type of deal. So
yeah, if the two title matches for SummerSlam were Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, and Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, that's real strong, and it opens a lot of possibilities for Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, and the rest of the division.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's move over to Men's Elimination Chamber. Randy Orton, LA Knight, Cody Rhodes, Javon Evans, Trick Williams, and Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship number one contendership. Now, Trick got brought out for a commercial break promo on Raw, saying he wasn't supposed to be in Atlanta, but he had to check out the best chicken wings in the world, so he had to bring his lemon pepper steppers. I thought Buffalo had the best chicken wings. Atlanta has the best chicken and waffles, but I digress. There was nothing to this. The crowd was hot for him. He ran down the competitors on the match. That's it. It does suck that Bronson Reed is not in this match. We discussed his injury and the circumstances surrounding it on our WWE episode this past Tuesday. He was a necessary second heel to Williams. And in reality, considering Trick is so beloved already, this is basically a match involving 5 babyfaces and 1 tweener. Reed was also clearly going to have some big spots scheduled. Probably make a solid run because he would be that one true heel. And that's all out of the window now. Would not be surprised if another masked man was going to attack, possibly with a reveal, something more significant happening. I could have seen all that transpire in and around this match. Now, using a similar process of elimination here. Clearly, Jey is not winning considering he was not originally booked for the match. WWE could also write him off with an attack on Friday, do a last chance qualifier, and put someone else in that spot. Not impossible. Can do it. Trick or Javon, it'd be too much too soon with no real momentum for either of them in terms of the WWE Championship picture. It's too big of a title, too big of a match to just throw them into it right away. They should be focused on having quality bouts and working around the mid-card titles. That immediately trims the contenders to Orton, Knight, and Rhodes. If Cody was still champion, Randy would make the most compelling choice. But we know he's feuding with Aleister Black. McIntyre, Orton, one-on-one, it's plausible because you could then book Cody and Jacob in a really fun stipulation match. But I don't see that happening. Given the way Las Vegas responded to Rhodes last year, I'd be concerned running that match, Cody-Jacob, and Rhodes getting booed against Fatu one-on-one. As I stated 2 weeks ago, Knight is actually the best option. He's been getting massive pops since returning. There's a natural feud with history between him and McIntyre. It would open Cody and Jacob up for other matches, and Knight winning the WWE Championship would be fresh, unexpected booking received incredibly well by fans. But the best option does not always win these matches. And as we've discussed before, anytime Cody Rhodes is involved in a title match or a number one contendership, he needs to be a Scotty Scheffler-like favorite, an odds-on favorite. The booking of Cody, earning the opportunity, Jacob forcing his way into a triple threat, it's straightforward. Coming out of last week's SmackDown, Nick Aldis promising Fatu he'd get his chance when the time is right. So at the end of this process of elimination, I can tell you, if Silver King had the book, I had the pencil, I'd be booking Knight to win this match.
Yeah.
But that's not going to happen, is it, LA?
No.
It's going to be Cody Rhodes winning Elimination Chamber.
Look at you coming around back in the day when Silver King didn't like LA Knight in NXT, and now he wishes he'd be winning the Elimination Chamber to get the title match at Mania. We love to see personal growth. I would love to see
keep
that
rewriting
too,
the history in your own way, but yeah, please go ahead. Sure.
I'm with you. I would love to see LA Knight win this. I think it'd be awesome. I think he's going to get a huge pop in this. Might be the most over guy in the match, really.
Possibly.
But I'm picking Cody to win via interference from McIntyre and or Fatu and or probably not Sami Zayn. I think McIntyre has been getting far too involved in all these kinds of things with threats of consequences. And I think this is going to be the thing that pushes all this over the line into issuing those consequences, which will at some point result in a triple threat or fatal four-way match with Sami Zayn, which we talked about on the Tuesday show. If you can go back, we went long on that. Don't need to repeat the whole thing. But I'm picking Cody to win, and he takes advantage of something Drew does. So Cody wins, but he wins under kind of spacious circumstances, stances, and that opens the door for arguments that things could be tweaked. I mean, he just beat Sami Zayn to get into this match,
right?
Thanks to interference from Drew McIntyre. And if it happens again, you know, there are arguments to be made that maybe it should be more than just those two.
You know, if there are shenanigans this year, I just hope somehow they figure out a way to do it without having someone run through the open cage door. Because as great as both of those occurrences were last year, Jade Cargill returning, storming in, looking like she was going to attack Liv, beating the hell out of Naomi while Bianca Belair was screaming in her pod stuck. That was incredible. And then on the men's side, what was it? Seth Rollins running in, hitting the stomp on CM Punk?
Onto Punk. But yes. I don't know if Seth, I think he was in the process because he was trying to get, he had been eliminated, but was slow to get out. And I think that's when he stopped him. I don't think he ran back in, but we have had Logan Paul ran back in like the year before that, I think in Perth, to interfere in the match. So it has happened quite a bit.
I thought someone ran in for the men's match and we drew a parallel between the two, but okay, even if that's not the case, Seth stomping Punk, then Cena pulling him back and doing the STF and getting the win. There was the cage door was still open at that time at a minimum because it was a transitionary period. Let's put it that way. It's already difficult when people just simply climb into steel cage matches or walk through the door. We saw that with Jacob Fatu in 3 Stages of Hell. That annoys me. When it's a closed structure, so Hell in a Cell or Elimination Chamber, unless it's incredible, and the Jade Cargill one last year was incredible. Unless it's that, it just pisses me off. I know it's a huge door. Anyone with a decent amount of speed, these are all athletes. They can run through, sneak past a couple referees. It's not illogical. It's just frustrating because the point of the chamber is that the match gets contested between the people involved and there's no outside interference. So I don't mind if, there's a situation where McIntyre and or Fatu and or Sami Zayn come down to ringside and maybe they try to taunt from the other side of the pod or they climb up the side and, whatever, they stick a kendo stick in there. There's things you can do. But what I just don't want to happen is have Jacob run in, Drew run in, and all of a sudden you have 3 people who weren't even in the match suddenly in the chamber deciding the outcome.
That's my thought in that, like the classic one was Shawn Michaels coming up from underneath the ring, underneath the chamber, back in that year that he ended up getting retired by The Undertaker. So maybe you have like Fatu under there. Like, it wouldn't really make sense for Drew to hide under the ring to go after somebody, but maybe like Fatu is under there and he interferes in the match. Then the door is open and that's how Drew runs in. That could be a way to get two people involved in different ways. I don't know if Sammy's involved or not. I mean, like, that's the other thing. Is like, Sammy needs his lick back against Drew, against Cody, against some of these guys.
He wasn't wronged by McIntyre, though. All Drew did was try to help him.
He got attacked by Drew. Which match was it?
No, so he lost to Drew clean at the Royal Rumble, which is why I said on Tuesday's show, I don't want him involved in the WrestleMania match. He doesn't deserve it.
Right.
But when it was the Elimination Chamber qualifier, McIntyre ran out to cost, I want to say it was Cody, but maybe it was Cody and Jacob. And he put Sammy's body over whomever it was, I think Cody, to try to get the fall. Cody kicked out. Then Sammy attacked Drew because he's a good guy. That then opened the door for Crossroads.
No, I remember what it was. He attacked Sami Zayn against Nakamura a little bit ago, I think is what it was. He like, Drew's interfered in so many matches that he has cost Sami Zayn some stuff. Yeah, it was a match against Shinsuke like 2 weeks ago, I think it was. So he has interfered in a Sammy match as well. So there is a lick back that needs to be made there. Is Sami Zayn the guy who comes in because he's the one? I don't know if it fit him, but I do think in some way we're getting shenanigans.
There will be something that happens. I'm just going to reiterate, I would prefer they figure out a way that there's not additional bodies in the ring and they are able to keep the chamber aspect of the chamber, the cage structure, together. It's
like really how the very first Hell in a Cell involved them getting outside the cage and
immediately, right?
Like it has never, the cages have never done what they were.
No, but when they do, okay, like Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, oftentimes the matches are much better for it because they're living up to their stipulation. And some of the best Elimination Chambers included just, 5 or 6 people, or sometimes 7 even, all in the ring, fighting it out amongst themselves, and then one person emerging. That's ideally what it should be. It should be someone outlasting and surviving and emerging as a number one contender. But as I've said multiple times, and I said it on Tuesday's show also, the better booking for this match, considering something you mentioned, how many wars McIntyre is fighting simultaneously. Cody, Sammy, Jacob, Orton, he added for some reason on Friday night. The best booking is actually putting McIntyre and the WWE title on the line in this match rather than it being a number one contendership. And they can make that change this Friday, 24 hours before the show, because it's going to be the first time McIntyre and Nick Aldis see each other since McIntyre interfered in the main event after interfering one other time on the last SmackDown. But you have McIntyre prevail. You set up his other 2 or 3 challengers through the structure of the match, who eliminates who, how they get eliminated, etc. It would elevate the match itself. I've previously ranted about my disdain for these only being number one contenderships the last few years. It would also elevate McIntyre as champion, him surviving and emerging out of Elimination Chamber when all the odds are stacked against him. And it would open the contendership, making a multi-person bout at WrestleMania even easier to explain logically. It's wins across the board going in that direction. I have no real belief it happens. But you know what, man? I'm someone who firmly believed Drew McIntyre was going to win the WWE title. And at the last minute, I said, you know what? I don't think they're actually going to pull the trigger. And then they did. Okay. So maybe by the time we are talking on Saturday, we're going over this. Maybe it is indeed a WWE Championship match.
And do you think this will be the main event of the show?
This will be the main event of the show. My guess on card order, because they love splitting up the stipulation matches, would be Women's Chamber opening, then CM Punk and Finn Balor, AJ Lee and Becky Lynch. That way, if AJ does win, you just have Punk come back out, celebrate with AJ after her win, and then Men's Elimination Chamber in the main event of the show. I don't think CM Punk and Finn Balor is strong enough to main event.
Even in Chicago, but I would agree. I agree on that whole.
Well, you open it that way. You get, or not open, excuse me. You put them in that second spot. The crowd gets crazy hot. And then you continue it. But no, yeah. In Chicago, it would make sense if his challenger was stronger. As much as I love Finn Balor, there's just zero belief in him winning that title. So you can't have that in the main event, as far as I'm concerned.
Is there any chance Roman makes a surprise appearance? Beats up Punk or something.
I'm going to say no because he's advertised for Raw on Monday.
That's true.
Doesn't mean he can't. It would be a surprise. That's the entire point of a surprise, not advertised, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are going to go in that card order and you want Punk to come back out with AJ, I don't think he can have his ass get kicked in between. You know what I mean?
I agree.
So that wraps up the breakdown and predictions for the 4 WWE Elimination Chamber matches and the 1 bonus box segment, which we will see what the hell happens there. At this point in the show, Vintage, it is our opportunity to give our pre-show expectation grades for the WWE PLE of choice. Of course, this one is Elimination Chamber. And as we do our grade segments, you always get the opportunity to go first. So what is your pre-show expectation grade for the 2026 edition of WWE Elimination Chamber?
B+. It is hard to do a good chamber match. There have been good ones. There have been a couple spots, but you don't really remember chamber matches. There aren't classics that we're talking about again. Mm-hmm. So I think the matches, kind of like War Games, I think they'll be a little bit of a slog at times because they are by their nature. We have 2 singles title matches, one of which we know who the winner is going to be,
mm-hmm.
and the other should be good, AJ, Becky. But we also don't know how AJ will look in her first match, singles match in a decade. I'm going to go B+, 88.
Totally fair grade. I am most concerned by the Women's Elimination Chamber because while there are wrestlers in there that I personally like a lot, and to me, Rhea Ripley and Asuka are 2 of my 4 favorite women in the entire company and really in the world when it comes to wrestling. You know, Asuka doesn't have the cachet with the public that she has with me necessarily. And this match is missing a ton of star power. I mean, Bianca Belair is injured, obviously, but nothing with her. No Bayley, Charlotte Flair, Lyra Valkyria, Becky Lynch. I could go on. Io Sky, etc. When you look at the names there, Stratton, Ripley, Bliss, Asuka, James, and Rodriguez, like Raquel doesn't get great responses. Kiana is just starting to emerge a little bit. Bliss is popular, but no one really believes in her. And Tiffy, while she is over, I don't want to discount that. I've just been so disappointed in her since she returned. And really the back end of her 2025 as well. So I have a weird feeling that this match is going to underdeliver even to my somewhat lowered expectations, even though when it comes to women's matches like this, they often steal the show. And because of that, I'm in a similar camp to you. Becky Lynch and AJ Lee, I also have concerns about what the booking is going to look like there, coming out of the way AJ looked in the mixed tag team match and their feud leading into this. It still is confusing to me why they're doing it here. If it seems like the tentpole match for WrestleMania as well, I don't know how that's going to be received. CM Punk and Finn Balor, I actually don't have many concerns about. I think they're going to exceed what they did in Belfast and possibly put on the match of the night, something that Punk delivers to the Chicago crowd because he's at home and because he wants to experience that with them, but also because I believe what he says, even though it's in kayfabe in his promos. I think he reveres Balor. And I believe the way Balor has been booked early in 2026, I have no designs on him winning a world championship again, but they have the ability to capitalize on this momentum, this opportunity in the main event, and possibly by the end of the year or maybe in 2027, give him at least one of those runs. But it all starts here. He has to look like a real main event product who gets screwed over in this match. And I believe Punk is on a mission to a degree to help him accomplish that. So that match, I think, might steal the show. Men's Chamber, I believe, is going to rock. Not having Bronson Reed in there, problematic, but the crowd reactions alone for Trick and Javon, Evans' athleticism, what he's going to be able to do, the star power of Randy Orton, the overness of LA Knight, Cody Rhodes being Cody Rhodes, and the yeeting even with Jay, as much as it may bother me. Like, the entrances are going to be ridiculous. The aura offs, if they do them, are going to be ridiculous. I have no idea the way that match is going to play out. Who's going to pin who? How does it work? So I'm really intrigued. I don't know that it's going to be an incredible wrestling match, especially considering the point you made about interferences. So I'm really close to agreeing with you. I usually err on the side of positivity when it comes to WWE PLEs recently, because we went through a period during the pandemic where we were giving out Bs and B pluses for expectation grades, and they always exceeded it every single time. So that's kind of adjusted my predictive nature when it comes to these shows. So I'm going to say a 90, an A minus, 90 out of 100, A minus. If it's slightly below 88, 89, around where you are, I wouldn't be surprised. If it's slightly higher, I wouldn't be surprised either. But I just don't see any way that this is a flat A or better show. With the matches that are booked, only having 4 of them, the names who are missing, I don't know how they could do any better than, let's say, a 92 or 93. That's the ceiling for this show.
Yeah, that's fair. And like I've said before, I'm trying to make sure we expand the range of things. There was a period for like a year, 2 years where everything was, an A or an A minus, and like, all right, the bar has been raised, and so a B plus now is not what a B plus was when we started the show. But I'm going to
sure, but it's also not the difference between like 5 stars and 7 stars. Just to be clear, it's just a couple of percentage points different than what it perhaps would have been. And yes, you're right. We are trying to be a little bit tougher because, by the way, a B or a B plus, it's not a bad grade for
no, it's not
a show.
No,
it really isn't. There have been plenty of like AEW pay-per-views and WWE premium live events that I've given an 86 or 87 to, and it was still an enjoyable, good time. It's when you get lower than that into the B minus range where things start really falling apart. Now, Chris, that kind of wraps up our breakdown or WWE Elimination Chamber. Before we get out of here, I just wanted to quickly run through a projected WrestleMania card based on what's already happened and what we've discussed both on this show and the regular WWE edition we had on Tuesday. So the 2 matches that are firmly set, the World Heavyweight Championship, CM Punk versus Roman Reigns, main event of night 2. The Women's World Championship, Stephanie Vicaire against Liv Morgan, the other Royal Rumble winner. Those are set in stone. Here is how I see everything else shaping out and how you do as well based on what we talked about today. WWE Championship, Drew McIntyre defending against Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu in a triple threat. You believe it's going to be a 4-way plus Sami Zayn. WWE Women's Championship, Jade Cargill. I have Raquel Rodriguez. You have Rhea Ripley, possibly Tiffany Stratton instead of either of them. Women's Tag Team Championship, some type of 4, 5, 6 team match, maybe TLC, some type of stipulation where these women have the opportunity to steal not only their night, but perhaps the entirety of WrestleMania. I believe that's going to be a legitimate option. If both men are cleared, Seth Rollins against Braun Breaker, Oba Femi against Brock Lesnar, just given the tease that we got on Monday. I hope they save this for SummerSlam, but let's pencil it in right now for WrestleMania. Intercontinental Championship, Dominic Mysterio against Finn Balor. Intercontinental Championship, Becky Lynch against AJ Lee rematch. Sami Zayn for me against Trick Williams. For you, no Sami because he's in the 4-way. Randy Orton against Aleister Black with a stipulation. And then original El Grande Americano against El Grande Americano. That's 11 or 12 matches, depending on where Sami Zayn gets slotted. Out of what has been 14 total matches, 7 per night, each of the last couple of years. As I read that off to you, what do you think about that projected, pretty probable card for WrestleMania?
I don't know what the Brock thing is. It's very possible they have no idea right now. Like you penciled in Oba Femi. I imagine Oba will have a singles match somewhere on the card, but is it Brock? We don't know. I don't believe you mentioned Gunther.
I was going to get to the people I didn't mention. So just first go over the people I did mention in those matches. Then I'll read you those names also.
Gunther could be the Brock thing potentially. I'm not sold on Aleister Black, Randy Orton being a Mania feud. It may just be a couple of weeks SmackDown feud. Maybe we do Randy Orton, Trick Williams. Because I didn't have Trick Williams.
Love that.
Against,
by the way,
I didn't have Trick Sammy. So maybe Randy Trick as kind of an elevating moment for him. Do we get a women's U.S. title on there? I don't know. I think it's an okay card.
Yeah,
it'll look better when we see it. I think it's okay.
I don't see the Women's United States Championship on there. I unfortunately don't see the Men's United States Championship on there, but I do think there's a way they can do that. To the point that you made about names I didn't mention. LA Knight, not mentioned. Gunther, Jey Uso, obviously the Usos. If you throw Jimmy in there, they are the champions after all. Logan Paul, Penta, Rey Mysterio, Carmelo Hayes, U.S. champion, Ilya Dragunov, Shinsuke Nakamura. Those are the outliers, and that's assuming the stars in the women's division are all in that tag team match. Maybe they go 16 matches instead of 14, because it does seem like there's a lot of people left over. If you do go 16, then you can do a multi-man U.S. title match, including all of the people who have been around that strap. You could, if Trick Williams is not involved with a Randy Orton or a Sami Zayn, you could have Mello, Trick, Dragunov, Nakamura, whoever else, Rey Fenix, and that's a really exciting match on that brand. Tama Tonga, you could throw in there. Solo Sikoa, we didn't mention those guys as well. There's no Wyatt Six stuff here, but I think I think Wyatt Six MFT shit, probably go home SmackDown. There's a lot that they will do with the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Obviously, they had put title matches, I want to say, on the go home SmackDown, maybe also the go home Raw or the Raw after WrestleMania last year, which was a really great show, the Raw after WrestleMania. So there's a lot of machinations still to play out, but I did want to give this setup and kind of run through what it seems like are a majority of the matches that we should be expecting at WrestleMania. As I mentioned last week and this week as well, WrestleMania has always been about those 4, 5, 6 matches that you absolutely have to see. And then the rest of the card is just stuff that's booked, generally.
And could Kevin Owens come back before then?
I don't think he's anywhere close to being cleared.
I don't know. I just saw, while we were talking, I saw this picture of his son. I forgot how gigantic he is.
He's massive. It's unbelievable.
He's not that much shorter than Omos.
No. And what's crazy about that? Like, his wife is not particularly tall or anything like. So he just exists somehow based on whatever was happening with that.
It's like a Dom and Ray situation there. I also think you mentioned Finn, Dom. I think you throw JD in there and you make a triple threat as well.
Plausible
for the IC title. So we'll see. There's a lot of options. The roster is deep. We know that. And it will be hard to make a bad card based on the talent they have available. Mm-hmm. And I ultimately think we will be in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, the card won't be bad. The question is going to be, will it be well built and will we be excited for it? Those are two totally different categories for us to evaluate WrestleMania by the time it is fully booked. All right, Chris, bonus episode, WWE style for everyone, the Elimination Chamber Ultimate Preview. Hope this works out, and listenership is relatively equal between the two shows. I think it's the first time we've actually tried doing something like this, simply because we had so much to talk about in the world of WWE for 1 week, 3.5 hours across these two shows, but we are not done yet. On Thursday, we will be back talking NXT and AEW. Silver King may also throw in some AAA, maybe some TNA action in there as well. So a loaded show coming for you Thursday. And of course, Saturday, as soon as WWE Elimination Chamber goes off the air, we will have a special instant analysis podcast for you right here in your feed, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to performance-enhancing audio like that delivered to you by the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. On the way out, allow Silver King once more to remind you that this show
is all about the fire.
So head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leave a 5-star rating on Apple, take a little extra time, leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the program. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show, and you can vote in those pre- and post-show polls. Share your grades for WWE Elimination Chamber. We will discuss them on the Instant Analysis podcast. Subscribe on YouTube. You can listen to the show, and you can watch full-length video interviews there as well. And lastly, do not forget,
I happen to love the number 5.
And I sure hope you do as well. For $5 a month, $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Over head. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover Sign up, you'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. Again, buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Thank you all so much for listening to this edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast for Vintage Chris Vanini. This is the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, signing off and leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.